anything. Like, it's just, if you believe that what worked before is going to work again or to the same degree, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
You just are. And it, like, having the today's world perspective now more than ever is going to be critically important. And again, we're talking June. Deals that get cut, renewals that are in December, it's the same thing we're saying right now is going to be applying. It just is.
Welcome to Insights for IT Negotiations, a podcast by UpperEdge, a leading IT sourcing, negotiation, and project execution advisory firm. I'm John Belden, UpperEdge's Chief Research and Strategy Officer.
And I'm Kylie Chisholm, UpperEdge's Marketing Manager. Join us every other week as we share insights to help you maximize the value of your key IT relationships. In each episode, we'll delve into the topics that matter most to IT decision makers and sourcing professionals.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Insights for IT Negotiations. My name is Kylie Chisholm. I am UpperEdge's Content Marketing Manager, and I am joined once again today by our Microsoft Practice Leader, among other vendors, Adam Mansfield. Adam, how are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. I mean, I always look forward to when I see on my calendar in the morning and I see these on my calendar, I'm like, it just makes me happy. So,
yeah.
So I appreciate it. So thank you.
No, thank you, Adam. I think we've said this in past episodes, but if listeners don't know, we spend a good 10 minutes, just a little catch up beforehand. So it's a dual purpose meeting for us. We get the podcast done. We do our catch up. It's great.
I do think we should think about including some of the catch-up conversations because there's some insights that can be gathered from them.
And we've run the gamut of topics. I think our listeners would be interested to know a little blooper reel. I'll work with Mike on creating a nice blooper reel of everything that has nothing to do with what UpperEdge does.
Love it.
Love. But getting into what UpperEdge does do, the actual reason people are here.
Yes.
Like I said, you are our Microsoft Practice Leader. You have been for many, many, many years. You know the ins and outs of a Microsoft negotiation better than probably anyone else that I could at least think of.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk a little bit about how do we get them to bend? How do we get that leverage? How do we get them to stray away from their agenda? We talk a lot about how these vendors, Microsoft included, have their own agendas, have their own goals. How do you, as a client, as someone negotiating against Microsoft, actually get them to give you what you want instead of playing by their own playbook? So to jump right into it, this month, June of 2026, what actually creates leverage with Microsoft during a negotiation and what doesn't create leverage?
So a couple things to take a quick step back. So I appreciate the kind words, but I will say this. I can only do what I do because of my team, right? So like there's many people behind me too. Totally. So a lot of times I joke like I'm kind of just like turning into the talking head of sorts. But no, I appreciate those kind words. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring that up.
Totally.
Great question. And I think the key to this is the point about, and I know why you did this, June 2026, right? So the world of Microsoft over the last few months has been changing. June is their year end. You and I have worked on other content over the last, for many years as well, but over the last 9 months on this topic, right? Microsoft 2026. So I'd say there's a couple things, and anyone listening to this, I'm assuming or know you have a Microsoft relationship. You likely are in renewal negotiations, there's something that's why you're here. So there's a lot of key things here. Number one, in today's world with Microsoft, there's an element or a shift around if you orchestrate the conversation appropriately, right people, timing, so forth and so on, where you don't necessarily have to give them what they want to create leverage, but maybe you give them some of what they want. Much lower cost profile, much lower commitment level, and access to assurances around Microsoft's path to get what they may want over the course of the next upcoming term. So in other words, Microsoft wants you or most customers to move to E5 or now E7. They want all your users. You have 20,000 users. They want all of them all upgraded to the highest point. You come to them and say, that's ridiculous. I think with a straight face, I don't know how you even said that. There's no way we can do that. But I have a level of interest. There are pieces to that puzzle, E5, E7, that I don't know I'm going to use. So if it's E7, Agent 365, Copilot that's been baked into that. But I'm willing to learn and explore. So let's do this. Maybe I can do a little bit. I'll taste. If you do the right things for my pricing on everything else that's being renewed and so forth and so on, if you give me assurances. In the past, Microsoft was very challenging pushback on that. I'd say if you do it right, there's ways to still get a really good deal without the full commitment. And other examples obviously are things like they obviously want, I mentioned in Microsoft 365 Copilot, right? Obviously. Really, really new and fresh. I like that word, fresh things. GitHub Copilot. Okay, so again, Copilot AI, GitHub Copilot, competing and thinking about it from a new licensing model that they just rolled out in June 1st. So now they have a user base, a user per user price, and they have a consumption component. So you get a number of credits, you draw down on the credits, you owe them more money. You and I in UpperEdge and me have spent a lot of time on consumption. They want that. So an example, maybe you're on the fence about GitHub Copilot, but maybe you can dip your toes in a little bit. Now they want everything. Old world, you needed to give it to them to really get them. Well, not so much anymore. Yeah. So again, there's a pivot there. Yeah. I would also tell you in June of 2026, creating leverage through looking at yourselves deeply and more appropriately can create leverage. So what I mean by that is coming to Microsoft with here's what I'm using, here's what I'm not using, here's what's going on with Azure, here's what I'm thinking unified support, here's what I'm thinking LinkedIn, I mentioned GitHub, devices perhaps, Surface, looking at the big picture and presenting it to them that way as well, meaning we have things that are coming up 2027, LinkedIn, whatever it may be. Behavior today by you, Microsoft, is going to impact what I do later. Now, that's always been a way to create leverage, but now more than ever, as Microsoft continues to get pressure across those other components of their base, especially things like Azure, where it's highly competitive, so forth and so on. So that's another thing. And then the last thing I tell you about the right now, and this is a little maybe soft or softer, but I really believe myself and my team, we're seeing this play out. Lean in heavy on relationships, product team relationships, sales team relationships. Because, with changes going on with your sales team and product team people, the ones that are there's an element of if they can foster and build strong relationships because you're offering the opportunity to, that creates leverage because they're able to say, hey, boss within Microsoft, I know this was kind of a dicey little relationship and we had to flip salespeople, but here's kind of what's going on now. They're reaching out to me proactively. They're asking me, I'm getting future meetings. There's leverage in that. The literal just play the relationship, not play in a bad way, manipulate. I mean, literally put effort into it.
Yeah.
So those are some things. I mean, there's always other things. I talk the way that I do. It doesn't mean this is easy. It's all about how to orchestrate it. But those are the big ones right now as far as kind of the deals we're in and we're seeing.
Did you know that UpperEdge offers subscription advisory services? This on-demand solution provides essential benchmarks and market insights specific to your business needs precisely when you need it, empowering you and your team to make informed decisions for your IT initiatives. Position your team for success. Reach out today via the link in the show notes to learn more.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. Again, I think anchoring it to it being June 2026, I feel like the landscape has flipped on its head in such a huge way in the past year, and especially even in like the past 6 months of 2026. So I feel like so many people, with long-standing Microsoft negotiations, we're all having to really think about it very differently, how we approach it. But I like that you bring up even just something as simple as fostering and nurturing those relationships with the people that you know at Microsoft, because that is something that has not changed despite how the landscape might change. That's something that you should have been doing and should definitely be doing now to create more leverage.
100%.
Yeah. So then moving into the next question, what are the biggest mistakes enterprises are making these days as they prepare for and negotiate with Microsoft?
Yeah, I think, and again, I like these kind of questions because the hope is those that are listening kind of think about it from a constructive criticism part, right? Which I value in all walks of life. Sometimes people may be heavier on the criticism than the constructive, but what I would say is in this place, I'm going to hopefully be constructive. So I think the number one thing right now is, and I get it, right? I get it. Like there's a lot going on at these businesses, these enterprises that we work with, but this isn't the only thing they're doing. Okay. But I really have seen too much internal disconnects.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to use the word unwillingness, but an element of just not really collaborating internally, keeping a unified communication, giving inputs that are required at certain points in time, playing your role in the negotiation. There's been some disconnect I've seen. And again, there's always a reason. But I think it's an area where I'm seeing opportunity to be better, opportunity for improvement, because that level of improvement, that level of change will prove beneficial for all of these individuals and that broader company in the end state of the deal, right? So like, number one, if you're not connected, you're not getting inputs, it could slow things down. If you are slowing things down and you have a renewal date that you have to renew, that plays to Microsoft's benefit because you're running out the clock yourself.
Yeah.
Two, if there's individuals that aren't wanting to participate but need to participate, that creates friction, that creates dynamics that require time that's focused on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And then three, and this is the big one, if you don't communicate a unified message to Microsoft, so if you think about what I was just saying, there's the whole like, we're in this together, Microsoft, and I'm thinking about a future state that I would like to offer you.
Yeah.
I can't do something now, but I could maybe later, if that's the message that someone delivered. And then they pick the phone up and talk to someone else. And that person's like, we're never doing that. We're never going to, or they're like, what are you talking about? Like, we love it. We're going to do it all right now. Like, what? What are you talking? Craters the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I just think that's a really important thing. And I think it's, again, it may seem like softer, but the implications, if you don't do that right, are massive.
Yeah. Well, and again, to your point, it seems softer, but I think especially people working in tech, they have that sort of harder negotiation mindset and that more technical mindset that they can approach things with, but don't let those softer aspects of the leverage, slip by, because they're very important in and of themselves. And then the last question that I have for you is, if you had to give one piece of advice to a Microsoft customer that is heading into their EA renewal, what would it be?
It's a good question. I think it's, don't assume what worked before. Mm-hmm. And before could be an interim negotiation or a Azure negotiation, not EA, that happened literally last year.
Yeah.
Don't assume that how that was operated what mattered to them then, what levers there were, what targets, what good pricing was in 25 versus 2026. What, like, if you're going in with like that as your, I got this, because it's not going to prove to be true, because we're in these, like, we've been doing this since 2010. It's dramatically different in 2026 than it was in 2025. It's actually dramatically different than deals that were cut in early 2026.
Yeah.
So make sure you have the right data, the right benchmarks, of course.
Yeah.
But like literally the right strategy, the things we've been talking about today. Like, it's just, if you believe that what worked before is going to work again or to the same degree, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
You just are. And it, like, having the today's world perspective now more than ever is going to be critically important. And again, we're talking June. Deals that get cut, renewals that are in December, it's the same thing we're saying right now is going to be applying. It just is.
Yeah.
So I think that's the number one thing. And then on top of it, as an extra, a bonus, if you will, I would say, give yourself time. Yeah. Like, you know, look, and I don't, everyone, what's the right amount of time? It's really dependent on the situation, but like, just, you know, if you're giving yourself enough time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's just like apply real world scenarios. Yeah. Like if you need to be somewhere in 30 minutes, in a normal day, it takes you 25 minutes to get there, and now it's rush hour, lunchtime.
Yeah.
You know if you're going to be late. You know if you're running behind. You know if you haven't given yourself enough. You know.
Yeah.
You know, right? You just know. So just be instinctual to it too.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And to your point on, you know, deals in June of 2026 even looking different than the beginning of the year, I feel like for you and I, it makes it a very exciting time in this industry because things are flipped on their head, and, you know, we're getting more creative with how do we evolve with the landscape. I'm sure our clients feel a little bit differently. They might use more frustrated terms to talk about it, but.
Well, it's actually an interesting point, and I think we pushed through our questions, but I know just to keep going on that point, because I think you raised an interesting additional point. Like, I do believe in that. Like, I do believe in the impact of unnecessary frustration. I do believe in the impact of unnecessary stress. I do believe in the impact of removing frustrations and stress from process. Yeah. Right. And again, maybe the theme of this one, we have to think about how we tag up the synopsis, but like, it's a heavier emotional we're in like emotional feeling world, which is great because it does have an impact. Look, there's a lot of stuff going on. Microsoft is tough to negotiate with. There's usually massive dollars tied to these deals. There's usually a lot of scrutiny and eyes from above looking at these deals. We all have stuff that's going on outside of work. We have other things at these businesses that are going on, right? So like in other vendors and other things, if you're in procurement or IT, you got a lot.
Yeah.
So like, why add to the pressure, the friction, the stress? Why?
Yeah.
If you have an ability not to.
Totally.
And I think we all do. It's just a matter of prioritization. Mm-hmm. And that kind of ties to, again, I never will be this way. This isn't a plug, but I'm just saying, like, that's part of also like why we talk about, if we get the opportunity to work with you, if we've earned that right, like part of the value proposition is literally like, we know where you to focus. We can remove a lot of that extra legwork, stress, friction, because we can give you answers to things. We can have you mitigate cost components where you're not also adding risk or cost, meaning dollars, to Microsoft.
Yeah.
So I would say like it's a massive thing, and I don't think it's going to go away. So if you plan that into your process, I think you're only going to help yourself in the end state negotiated deal with Microsoft.
Yeah. Totally. Adam, leave Microsoft behind. Come over to the marketing side. That was a great
marketing.
UpperEdge.
Well, I do love the marketing team. I do love the marketing team here at UpperEdge.
But I truly could not say it better myself. I think there's a huge value in, lifting the mental load from our clients when it comes to prioritizing and helping them focus on what matters most and what's actually going to move the needle. And I think this conversation helped give insight into exactly what that can look like. So thank you.
And by the way, I think you and I need to work on a piece of content, lifting the mental, what was it? What did you say?
Lifting the mental load. Yeah. Okay.
I think we need to do something like this together.
I know what to do, Adam. We'll get
we need to craft something on that, because I do think it's, as we've talked about it, I know it's important.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's make sure
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that. Stay tuned, everyone.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. And as always, we already have a lot of content that goes even more in depth on some of the stuff that we talked about in today's episode. So I'll make sure to have some of that linked below, but also listeners, make sure that you are following along with UpperEdge to get more of that insight. I'll also have contact info for UpperEdge. So that way, if you want to have a more tailored conversation with Adam and his team on your specific goals and needs, we are always available for that. But otherwise, Adam, thank you so much for your time. This was a really valuable conversation. I'm excited to dive into a little more content with you on this. And yeah, with that, we hope everyone found this episode just as valuable as I found it. And we will chat with you all in the next episode. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you for listening to Insights for IT Negotiations. This episode was hosted by John Belden and Kylie Chisholm and produced by Mike Brown. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss a new episode. For more information on IT sourcing and risk management strategies, visit UpperEdge.com and subscribe to our monthly UpperEdge newsletter. Thank you for listening.